A lot of people ask me why I got into racing, especially at the age I did. For some, it's a hobby. For a lot of others, it's just something they've always done. They've never known anything different. But for me, it's truly my calling. It's only my third year racing. It's incredible because there's been so much progress that's happened. It's been an extremely steep learning curve competing against, guys that have been doing this their whole life since they were 6 years old. I couldn't have imagined how far I've come. My first season ever racing, getting rookie champion, and then these last 2 years in GB3 culminating with the podium at Silverstone. It's been really incredible journey to be on. I think earlier on, kind of have that imposter syndrome, which is only natural when you've gotten into the sport so late. I really feel like now the Winter Series in New Zealand is that next step. New Zealand is a really exciting championship. It's very compact, very intense. 15 races, 5 weeks, full push. And it all kind of culminates in the last race of the season, the New Zealand Grand Prix. It's not going to be easy, but I know I can do it, but I don't really have a choice. This series could make or break my career in motorsport.
Are you ready to rumble? Look at that sunset. Sunrise.
I think with anything in life, it's really important to have something you're working towards. And I think in motorsport, that's kind of difficult sometimes, especially in the off season. The usual racing calendar runs, March to November. There's that gap in between in the winter where you're usually left not racing, just prepping for the next year. This is my first time actually having racing go on during the winter. It's really nice to have a clear objective for something that's happening really soon. So with my performance coach, Sasha, we have a really intense boot camp set up, building right into New Zealand. So we're really going to be pushing hard, testing my limits, and seeing how far we can push it. It's important to be comfortable being uncomfortable in sports, and this testing really gets to the core of that. Whenever you're trying to push the boundaries, you need to know where you are currently. The endurance testing is all about finding your limit.
Less than 30 seconds to go.
Once you've found that limit, then getting really uncomfortable to try and see if I can uphold the standard under pressure. A lot of what you face in sport is a mental battle more than physical. Like every other sport, most of the time you're losing. Most of the time it's not going according to how you want it to go. A successful athlete is the one who chooses to keep pushing on, knowing that it's going to make you stronger. It is physical, but it's also very mentally challenging.
Let's go.
And it translates directly into racing itself in the season. In a normal season, you might get only 2 races or 4 races a month. This being 15 in a month is going to be really intense, and you just don't have that normal time you would have in between races to recoup. What I don't want to happen and why we're doing this is because I want to be able to be in top form for every single race of the calendar and not start to be feeling it by the time the most important race of the season comes in the New Zealand Grand Prix.
here we are, getting it done. Smashed his hit session just before this, straight into a very cold pool actually, to do 20 lengths. Nice, Shawn, you're halfway. You got this. Seven minutes. Fair play. I would give you a high five on schedule booking.
It's actually nice in the cold water when you swim. Makes it easier.
I moved out to the UK to chase my F1 dream, and it's been 3 years now, which is crazy, but the United States will always be my home. It's nice to come back to home soil for the physical and mental prep for the challenge ahead. Thermal Club is really where my motorsport journey started to take roots. For my birthday and my last year of university, my parents sent me to the AMG Academy, mostly because they said I was, always driving too quick on the roads, and they're like, go to this academy, get the fast driving out of your system in a safe environment, and then, hopefully that'll calm you down. And, with the 90 other people that were there at the academy, and at the end of the couple days, we had all our competitions and I won everything. At the time, I remember feeling like this is the most fun I've ever had in my entire life. I was going back home every night, just like thinking about being on track, so excited to get back to it the next day. At the end of the whole experience, the instructors came up to me and they're like, man, great job, we're really impressed, how long you've been racing. And when I told them I hadn't ever been on a racetrack before, they're like, dude, you're seriously naturally talented, and you'd be starting really late, but you should seriously consider doing this as a profession. 5 months later, when COVID hit, I was in Costa Rica quarantining, and school was, online, everything had shut down, and it gave me a lot of time to think about what I wanted to do for my life. And that's when, my mind just kept coming back to that experience I had. One night I had a really vivid dream, and in this dream it felt like a conversation with God. And this dream was so vivid, so clear. It was like, your passion is racing. There'll be a time and an opportunity when a door opens. All you have to do is walk through it. That very next morning, my dad called me. We never talked about racing. And he told me there was this guy named Johnny O'Connell, famous race car driver, who was looking for someone to mentor. I took that as a sign and met him, and the rest is history. I'm a very spiritual person. I believe everything happens for a reason, and synchronicities happen in your life when, you're on the right path. We were talking about my previous experience, and, when I mentioned AMG Academy in Laguna Seca, it turned out that my instructor was his son, and, his son had talked to Johnny about what an incredibly talented guy he had coached, and he's like, man, that was you all those months ago. And that was a synchronicity that just kicked off my racing career. And Johnny helped me a ton, really instilled in me the fundamentals of motorsport that I still use to this day. Always used to call him my racing dad because he was there with me all my races. So it's nice to reconnect with Johnny now, all these, years later of experience before going into the next challenge of New Zealand.
Be good, win some races this year. Yeah. All right.
In my training now, the mindfulness training we do, the mental training, we talk a lot about your lighthouse, and that's coming back to something that you can use as an anchor. It's especially important in the really difficult times. What I consider to be a really divine experience and entrance into the sport, a real core feeling of this is what I'm meant to be doing, has been crucial in helping me progress in the sport. I think the training camp was just really well organized, and it was really regimented, starting out in the morning with a meditation, getting into the mindfulness practice, getting your mind ready for the day so that you can then go be really intense, have a lot of physical training, wear yourself out, and then go do something like a hike.
The problem is, it's like the workout itself is not too bad, but when you've done 3-4 workouts a day on the 6th day, it starts getting tough.
Do 20 seconds work, 10 seconds rest, so literally no rest.
I'm just twisting my ankle.
Any excuse to go out with the assault bike.
The sport is all about competitive advantage. Everyone's trying to find an edge. The teams are doing it, the drivers are doing it. Really a big part of what this boot camp is. We want to show up to be the most prepared driver on the grid. Starting so late, I'm at a bit of a disadvantage, so any sort of edge I can get is really important.
Find a lot of peace being out here in nature. I think nature in general, but also here at Joshua Tree, there's just a certain energy about it. And it kind of makes you forget about everything else going on. You just don't really feel like you're on planet Earth anymore. Especially at places like this, you can just kind of explore, climb around, and just kind of be a kid again. And connect back with like your inner child, where you didn't really have much to worry about. It's a really nice feeling.
For me, it's really important to, especially when I get back home, you know, in California, it's nice to reconnect with nature because it's so beautiful here. There's so many great hikes everywhere. And there's nothing like, honestly, just walking on a trail to get you reconnected back to what's important, do some grounding, kind of just makes you feel like everything's okay.
I think we're gonna go into the next season running and hit New Zealand, starting strong. I really feel like everything's meant to be. Yeah, I'm just hoping it goes well, and that'll be a good kickstart to the year.
2025 season.
It's weird to think about because it's literally almost a whole season of racing in 1 month.
Yeah. Feeling more ready than ever, I hope.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think anyone is training like us right now.
Oh no.
The boot camp's over, and man, it was really tough, really intense. The hardest 2 weeks of physical training I've ever done, but also had a ton of fun at the same time. And now I'm just ready to go racing.
What up, guys? We're here on Delta Flight 60 something to Auckland.
We're through.
So we've arrived at New Zealand.
Pretty stoked to be here. Should be a good time.
Yeah, we kind of have some time to just get the jet lag over with.
In the rainforest, it seems.
It was a long journey,
I'm tired now and sweaty.
but also just kind of get acquainted with New Zealand. All right, I am excited for exploring New Zealand.
Yeah.
And getting some podiums.
Oh yeah.
And what a beautiful place to start out the journey.
How do you feel about race week?
Pretty stoked. Taupo is just a beautiful little town situated right on the lake and, you know, the track not far away. So we just kind of spent this couple days relaxing, getting to know the area, and just, you know, mentally getting ready for the season. All right, so we've come to the Airbnb, and the only magnet on the fridge and the main painting is the Cotswolds. And we're walking, and it's beautiful. Continue. Guys, remember, always stop to smell the roses. It is day 2 here in Taupo, and we are off to the track for the first time. Yeah, I was very excited to get to the track. I didn't really know what to expect going into this series. Bruin, team owner of MTech, the team I'm racing for, really kind. The team run really professionally, and the car looked great. It completely blew away my expectations. I think we have the best looking car on the grid. Everyone's just not only professional, but really kind, really nice, really welcoming. And I think that just sets the tone for the season we're about to have. At the start, we really just have one day to get so many things done, you know, seat fit, media duties. One of the coolest experiences of the entire series was at the very beginning. In our opening ceremony, they had some local people come do the haka, basically, you know, open it spiritually. They were talking about paying respects to the land, respecting, you know, the people that came before you. I think that's a really nice thing, because it's something similar I like to do in my spiritual practice too. Before I race, before I test, just giving thanks to, you know, my ancestors, all the people around me today that helped me pursue my dreams, my goals. I think that was, it was cool to have that connection with the local people, something that I like to practice in my own way, in my own life. So first time in the car, I kind of had some expectations of what it was going to be like. I knew it was going to be very different from the GB3 car, which, you know, is very well balanced, a lot of downforce, and this is braced off the FROC chassis, which doesn't have such a great reputation and is a little bit more difficult to drive. Compounding that with Taupo, which is an extremely low grip track, yeah, it was not an easy introduction. It was a trial by fire. So I spent a lot of that first day just trying to get to terms with what the car likes, what it doesn't like. But it was difficult because the track didn't really give a true representation of what the car can do. You know, after the days of testing, I didn't have much expectations for qualifying. I was struggling quite a bit with the car and also the track. So I just kind of took it as an opportunity to develop a relationship with the team, the car, my engineer, and just use it as a learning opportunity.
Kia ora, good morning and welcome to Taupo, round 1 of the Castrol Toyota Formula Regional Oceania Championship, with qualifying starting now.
Qualifying was okay, considering it was the first time in the car. It was P11 for the first qualifying, which is, you know, out of 19 drivers is not terrible. It was really that first race. I knew it was gonna be tough. I made a mistake I've never made in a standing start and got to the starting line.
Get ready for the 20th season.
Had it in neutral, which I never do, but for some reason I left it in neutral.
Out go the lights, away we go.
And then the lights went out, I went to go and was just, you know, the car didn't move, but the rev limiter did. So yeah, the P11 qualifying was really for nothing, because by turn 1 I was in dead last. You know, it wasn't what I was hoping for, but in life you don't get what you want, you always get what you need, is what I believe. So for some reason I needed to start last in that first race, which, you know, was a little bit of a confidence hit after having worked so hard. leading up to the series, but it ended up being a good opportunity to practice racecraft, moved up some spots, had some good racing in that race, so I definitely won't ever make that mistake again. Sunday, we had qualifying again. It was another P11, which is, you know, all right. I was willing to accept that for the first weekend. In hindsight, it was a difficult weekend mentally, but I think that's why I'm so grateful to have done all the mental prep before. It's really easy to go down a rabbit hole when things aren't going right, especially at the beginning. I believe in having faith and trusting your training, and everything will work out. Just trust the process. When the weekend's over, that's it. It doesn't mean anything about the next one, and just
See ya.
one race at a time, eyes forward. And we're walking down to go get wet.
I don't have a problem here.
This is what we deal with, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways.
Wow, don't you wish you had a SD card?
For me, I have different goals than a lot of the other drivers do in this series. It's not just about getting podiums, winning races, going after a championship fight. For me, a lot of it is still about developing as a driver, learning adaptability, learning how to work with your engineer and the team. There's no real sense of disappointment when things go bad, because that's exactly what I'm there for, is to have things happen that I can learn from. You know, having some difficult times allows you to move forward in a way that actually builds you into a better driver. Going into this series, I was really excited not only to be in a new series, but to be in a new country and have a new experience. I knew it was going to be, you know, very busy with the racing, but I also wanted to make sure that we took advantage of the little free time we had to go do fun stuff and try and embrace the New Zealand lifestyle. It's extremely tropical in some places, you know, which reminds me a lot of where I grew up in Costa Rica. It felt a lot more like home to me than England, so it was a weird feeling to be racing somewhere tropical, but also really grounding at the same time. Alex, Sasha, and I, we knew that we wanted to go do some fun stuff, and after talking to the team, we knew we were gonna go do a luge, which is basically, you know, they have a mountain with like a bunch of different little tracks that go down it, and you just have like these little carts that are completely just mechanical. They have no power whatsoever, just roll down the hill.
Wait, give her a head start,
Super fun. Definitely sketchy in some places, but a nice way to be like racing in a very carefree, kind of childlike way. It was definitely a highlight of the trip. I really enjoy going and doing some sort of motorsport kind of racing activity with other people that aren't race car drivers. It's just nice to see them push way far beyond the limit, because they're obviously competitive and they're trying to compete with you. And so, you know, Alex is a competitor and took quite a tumble, which was really funny, but luckily he was okay.
Are you okay?
Yeah, it was just hilarious. Second round is Hampton Downs. Really cool circuit and more what I'm used to. Very rested and relaxed and ready after the couple days we had off, and ready to hit the track. I spent a lot of time with my engineer. You know, I think that work paid off. We really dialed in a car that I was much more comfortable driving. I also, on my side, made the adjustments I needed to make the setups work. And I think just going after those first couple practices was feeling a lot more comfortable in the car, and knew more the direction that we needed to head in. It's kind of tale as old as motorsport, you know, right when you think everything is going well, starting to feel comfortable with the car, and then Quali 1 ended up P12, which was one worse than the round before, and then you're kind of left like, what is going on? Made some mistakes and kind of got caught out by some stuff, but wasn't really too stressed about it, weirdly, because I was feeling so much better in the car. I've learned at this point to use frustration and anger as a tool, channel the anger and frustration into a better performance in the future. At the end of the day, regardless of how practice and quali go, once the lights go out for the race, it's sink or swim. You have to make the most out of every opportunity you're given. And at the checkered flag, you're either up there or you're nowhere. I knew that the car was in a pretty good window. I knew I was feeling really comfortable, and so I just had to be aggressive at the start, try to make up as many spots as possible.
Out go the lights, away we go!
Luckily enough, had a really good start. 3 wide, turn 1, made up some spots, made up 3 spots later on, ended up 6 spots on the race and finished P6. So yeah, it was a tough race, but a really fun one. I'm glad I took advantage of all the opportunities that presented themselves. This race was exactly what I needed. It's one thing to know that you can do it. I know I can do it. I know I've put in the work to make it happen. But it's another thing to actually get the results and just to show everyone that, like, yeah, I'm here to compete. It was a nice way to continue the season after what was a rough start. There is such thing as momentum, and it works both ways. You can have bad performances, and if you don't have a strong mental prep that you do, it's really easy to have your confidence get down, and it's kind of this downward spiral. And it works exactly the opposite way too. You have a good performance, leads to more confidence, which leads to better driving, and so it ends up being an upward trajectory that builds on itself. And that's something that was happening at Hampton Downs. My journey is obviously extremely abnormal in this sport, you know. The guys I'm competing against, they have a lot of experience, and so honestly for me, I am a competitor. I do want to win races, I do want to win championships, but bigger than that for me, I want to be an example for other people and show them that you don't have to fit this mold, you don't have to do things in a specific way. I want to be someone that, you know, kids and people of all walks of life can look up to as an example to say, if he can do it, why not me?
Like your hat. How's it going?
Good.
What's your favorite cars? Not sure?
We left the weekend with top 10 results in all the remaining races. You won't hear most drivers saying like, oh, I got a top 10, it was a great weekend. But for me, it's just that seeing that progress. Like, I know how I performed the weekend before, and knowing that there's progress is a positive for me. I always just want to see that I'm progressing, and that's what I came here to do. And if that's what's happening, then I'm happy.
All right, we went to Soda Springs. Really beautiful.
New Zealand is not a massive country, but it's divided into 2 different islands, and while most of the drivers were flying in between the different rounds, I thought it would be a cool opportunity to actually have a little bit of a road trip. So we actually decided to do all the driving on the islands, and there were some long drives, but it was so worth it. Having our chippy and dippy. Meanwhile, we got psychopaths driving up there. Because we got to see so much more than I think a lot of people got to see, and do a lot of things along the way. It was really nice to have that weekend to kind of fill up the energy bank a little bit, leave on a high. Race weekends tend to linger, whether they're bad or good. And as the nature of this series goes, before we knew it, it was already time for round 3. Sometimes you go to a racetrack and it just doesn't connect with you. Manfeild was another low. It was just really challenging, and it's really difficult to make the car work for you as well. It's really easy to get lost, and it was just one of those weekends where things just weren't clicking for whatever reason. After qualifying in race 1, I was really just hoping for some sort of miracle to happen to turn the weekend around. And luckily, that miracle was answered, and we got a change of weather forecasts and some rain rolled in for Sunday. You know, it was a really strange day where it would, it was raining, then it was drying. The track had a kind of unique thing where it dried out pretty quickly, so it was kind of these mixed conditions that can make the judgment calls really difficult going into the race, because you can either start on slicks hoping that it's going to dry out at some point, or you can go on wets hoping it's going to stay wet the entire time. There's obviously risks to both if it stays wet, or it could start to dry up. This is one of the races where you're sitting on the grid waiting for that last moment decision. So we made the gut call to go wets, and it was risky either way, but it was definitely wets to start the race, so the best opportunity was to try and have the right tire for the start.
The lights are on! Out go the lights, away we go!
Started P13, made up 3 spots at the beginning of the race, and everything was going okay until, it started drying out and the wet started burning up. Was really starting to question if we had made the right call.
When the track starts to dry and those tires start to overheat.
And the guys on slicks were definitely, smiling in their helmets, seeing that the track was coming to them.
You can see Arvid here really putting pressure on Rashid.
I have Arvid behind me who's on slicks, and I was just, fighting for my life, trying to keep my wets alive while his slicks were gaining a ton of grip. And then...
Oh no!
That's a real shame for Sid there.
My prayers were answered with a safety car. We're sitting behind this safety car, and then all of a sudden it just starts to rain. And a sense of relief came over me, and a smile came over my face as, the track was definitely coming back to the wet tire.
And Arvid will not be happy because it's just started to rain.
The restart of the race just took advantage of the conditions of my experience in the wet and made my way all the way up to P6.
Shawn Rashid, everybody's going to be happy in that top 6.
So it was a really fun race, matching my best performance of the series so far at a track that I had been struggling at. Was a really nice feeling. I truly believe that the best place to hone your craft in motorsport is England. What's funny is that people think of England as a terrible place to live because of the weather. It does rain so much, it is very cold. But those things that can be perceived as a negative in everyday life are a great benefit to learn in, because it teaches you to drive in really difficult conditions. It teaches you really good car control. And so when you come to a series like New Zealand where you're getting drivers from all over the world, those mixed conditions and wet conditions give you a very large competitive advantage. And I was really confident going into race 3 because it was also wet, and I knew there was a really big opportunity ahead. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out the way it was meant to be. Sometimes things in racing happen that are completely out of your control, and this was one of those races, and just had my teammate make an over opportunistic pass at me and hit me off the track and lost a lot of progress, and the rest of the race was really just trying to make some sort of recovery of what could have been. That was it was a difficult race because I was making a lot of progress, and all the progress I made was like instantly deleted in like 2 seconds. Started P13, made it up to P10 in like 2 laps, and then was back down to P14, P15 after the incident, and then just worked my way back up to P10, but what really could have been a top 5 finish. Motorsport is unique in that an open wheel, at least, you have teammates, but it's not like other sports where you're working, you know, with your teammates to collectively be better. Your teammates are your greatest competitor. They're the people you want to beat most. You want to be the number one on the team. I mean, in a perfect world, you would like to see progress every single round. You'd like to be like, you know, last round is this, and I want to be here, then I want to be here. But that's just not how life works, and life's not perfect. So there are a lot of ups and downs, and so that's why it's really important to keep perspective on how things are going. It's kind of a perfect illustration of my journey, really, because it's easy from an outsider's perspective to be completely results oriented, completely only looking at the position you finished. For me, it's just not about that. I just stay connected to my purpose, my lighthouse, why I'm doing what I'm doing, trusting in my training and working hard. And so that was really my whole mindset during the weekend.
Slow, fast. Fast.
I don't know what it is. I kind of think it's just something you're born into. Some people are just have some predispositions to whatever it is. If it's art, for me, it's adrenaline. Something about going fast just makes me feel so alive. It's a meditation and movement. When you're doing something so high adrenaline, you're doing something so fast, it doesn't leave any room for thoughts. It doesn't leave any room for worrying about the future, being sad about the past. It really forces you into the present moment. I think that's just such a beautiful thing. I think finding joy is a really important thing to do in life, and if that's something that brings you joy, also brings you into the present moment, it's a beautiful marriage. Going into Teretonga, it was our first time on the South Island, and the track it's a very old circuit, and there's not many corners. You go off, you're pretty much just gonna hit a wall. I knew going into the weekend after doing the track walk that I just wanted to have a clean, consistent race, and I knew that people were going to be wrecking. I knew there was going to be a lot of mistakes being made, and I just wanted to go into it and try and have a clean weekend. In the past 20 years that this series has been run, there's obviously been several teams that dominated in their own era. The recent times, that has been M2. When you get a team that's performing well, they also get very competitive drivers, and M2 is the team that gets the Red Bull Academy drivers. They get the guys that are going into the season looking to win a championship. M-Tech is also a very competitive team, and really the only other team that's giving M2 a run for its money. Yeah, and this was just one of those weekends where M2 just seemed to have something else in the bag. You know, they just had a setup that was working extremely well, and all their drivers were just in a completely different league. A lot of time was spent with my engineer. A lot of time was spent on video, data, problem solving, different driving techniques, different lines, trying to figure out something to bridge the gap to M2, but I think it was just ended up getting a little lost. You know, that weekend was difficult.
Fuck.
It was one of the ones where I was struggling mentally afterwards. As much as I practice mindfulness, as much as I practice all these different mental techniques to get through the hard times, I'm still very human. You know, this was one of those weekends where I was having a lot of self-doubt at the end of it, questioning a lot of things. And it's frustrating when after you've had so much track time, it never comes. This journey is very unique, and as we've spoken before, it comes with its own set of challenges. You know, it's a very steep learning curve, and I think it's weekends like this where things are going wrong, but you also don't know why. I don't feel very strong mentally, and I let myself get drawn into this whirlpool of self-doubt. That was definitely the mental low of the series. And I think not only was it a challenging weekend, I think also just, you know, the grind that it had already been 4 weeks was just mentally a lot more than I had experienced before. It's moments like these real lows that are a real pivotal moment. You can either continue to spiral down and it can affect the series going forward, or it can be the moment where things change for the better. It's a conscious choice that you have to make. I just really believe when you have tough times, feel bad if you need to feel bad, but then once you're done with that, let it go. And that's kind of the moment we were at, you know, the days leading up to the final round. So we show up to Queenstown, and I couldn't have been more grateful to that be the place we go to after such a difficult round.
Sasha's got some new shades. Alex got some new shades.
It is gorgeous, straight out of postcards. It was nice to be there and just kind of forget that we were even in New Zealand to be racing. I really needed that after that round. I was really just kind of like mildly depressed, and it's hard to be sad when you're in such a beautiful place doing really fun things. We went to Wanaka, which is a really beautiful place not too far from Queenstown, and just this majestic lake settled and just kind of cradled by all these mountains.
The problem with working with athletes is they're too good at sports.
I think that was the first time in the 5 weeks that I really allowed myself to forget that we were there for racing. Just really just be like vacation mode almost. I'm extremely competitive, and I think part of being competitive is also being hard on yourself. When I have a tough weekend, I really internalize them and try to figure out what I did wrong. I don't really like to have excuses. I think in a sick way in life, everyone spends too much time telling you what you can't do, telling you what's not possible, and people hide behind being realistic. I've never believed in that. I believe records are meant to be broken. People are meant to carve new paths every single day. Although I started at 25, you know, I get it all the time. People telling me, oh, you started too late. You should really, you know, be focusing on something else. You shouldn't try to make it to Formula One. You should, you know, maybe be a gentleman driver. In a weird way, I actually get joy out of proving people wrong. You know, I took a big leap of faith getting into this sport and starting this journey so late. I like to think it took a lot of courage, and I wanted to go into this final round with that same mentality and just take a leap of faith and trust that everything was going to work out. And this is it, the final round of the season, New Zealand Grand Prix. And if I'm gonna show everyone what I have, this is the last opportunity. Straight when we showed up to the track,
It's hot. Beautiful.
I got right with my engineer and got out there. I wanted to know every single bump, every single apex down to the inch. I want to know every single line, whether it's racing line or quali line. I just wanted to know every single part of that track, so I was 100% prepared. Straight off the bat, first practice session and everyone after that, we were extremely competitive and making progress every single time, and was really building a lot of confidence because not only were we quick, but we were getting quicker and quicker. I was starting to get high hopes for the weekend.
Welcome to the most important qualifying session of the championship.
Now, the New Zealand Grand Prix was different than every other race we had in the series. It's run a lot like a Formula One weekend, a proper Grand Prix is run. Just like F1, we have Q1, Q2, Q3. It's a really cool style of qualifying, and it adds a lot more strategy to it. You know, you get 2 new sets of tires and 1 used set.
P8. Shawn Rashid, that's one of his best qualifying to the American.
P8 and Q1 put us into Q2, and I had the decision whether to go new or used, and decided to go new just to try and give us the best odds of making it into Q3. And in a lot of ways it paid off, because we finished P4.
Shawn Rashid, his best qualifying so far in 4th.
But that meant we were on used tires when a lot of other people went new for Q3. You know, on top of the strategy, you're also at the end of the season. Not only am I trying to finish on a high and show what I can do, but every single other driver on the grid's trying to do the very same thing. So it's extremely intense. Everyone's performing at their absolute best. It really is sink or swim. To finish P6 in Q3 was a really nice feeling, especially considering we were on used and we had out-qualified some of the guys that were on new tires. And it was really tight, less than a tenth, and we would have been up another spot or 2. I was really happy with it and feeling really positive going into the Grand Prix. And I think quali was it was really a testament to the hard work not only I had put in, but also the team. It really was a collective effort to finish the season on a high. So it's Sunday, and it's the last day of the season and the day of the New Zealand Grand Prix. Very bittersweet, but a lot on the table, and I was super excited to get it going. I came into this series knowing it could make or break my career. I needed to do something to show what I'm capable of. With all that pressure, I really still came back to the joy, having faith that what needed to happen will happen.
We've got Shawn Rashid, who's had probably his best weekend yet over the whole championship, so he's in there with a fighting chance.
Yeah. Some drivers take a while to find their feet, right? Even if it's to come to the last round.
Yeah, for sure. And a track like this, if you're comfortable around here, you end up going even better than you otherwise might have thought.
The podium there.
Race 1 was a really intense race. There was a good opportunity to get a podium. I just needed to keep it clean in the first couple corners and then just be consistent. And that's exactly what came about.
Shawn Rashid of the USA, 2 Americans on the podium.
Ended the race P3, my first podium of the series, and I couldn't have been happier to have it there at that track with that crowd, with that energy. It was a big relief and a real high point in my motorsport career. I've won races before, I've had podiums before. I know I didn't win the race, but there was something about that podium where I really had to fight for it in that series. All 5 weeks, it was a real grind. Usually you have such a long season to try and learn and practice, but this was just back to back to back. It was just really rewarding to come away with that podium, and it really felt like a win for me. Having a podium leading up to the Grand Prix, there couldn't have been better timing. When you're doing something like trying to get to the top of a sport, it's really easy to forget that you started this journey because it's something you love. I kind of went into that weekend being like, you know what? I'm here in New Zealand, driving amongst some of the best drivers in the world. I've come so far, and I just need to remember that I love doing this. Sometimes when you try so hard at something, you can actually push it away. And if you just get back to enjoying it and actually having fun, things just start to flow so much better. The New Zealand Grand Prix is one of only 2 Grand Prix that's officially recognized by the FIA outside of the F1 calendar. And it's the largest event that I've raced in to date. Not only is this the New Zealand Grand Prix, the biggest race of the season, but it's also the last. And you always want to finish strong in the last one because that's how people remember you by.
Yeah, I'm honestly pretty relaxed. It's the last race of the year. It's a really good atmosphere. We got bagpipes playing in the background. It's kind of hard not to be having some fun right now.
So we qualified P6 in the Grand Prix, but there was a penalty that got handed to one of the drivers, and so I started P5. So the luck was already moving in our direction.
The lights go on for the 69th running of the New Zealand Grand Prix, and away we go.
Right at the start of the race, got a mega launch and get a big run up into turn 1 and made it into P4 right in front of Arvid Lindblad, who is future F1 driver for Red Bull. He's quite an aggressive driver.
And Lindblad, look how energized he is. He's trying to put a move on Rashid already.
I knew I just needed to put some space between myself and him. An opportunity came between myself and Brock Feeney. Really high risk, but it worked out.
It's Rashid around the outside, so he's got the move done.
Once I got past Brock, I knew I just needed to be consistent and try and pull a bit of a gap. And so I did. At this point, we're sitting P3. Unfortunately, we had a safety car, so all that work kind of just evaporated and we're all back to back again. When you have pace on the driver behind you, a safety car is really the last thing you want. It just gives them an opportunity to make a move on you again.
Safety car coming in this lap.
Shawn Rashid here, he's starting to put a bit of pressure on Zach Schuller as well. Rashid's actually just done the fastest first sector of the race. He is on form in this one. What a race to make your way towards a podium position. He is doing a great job.
Luckily, all season we hadn't had a mechanical, no failures whatsoever. But of course, at the worst possible moment, the unthinkable happens and I have a cover fail on the car. The front damper cover, which is right on the nose of the car.
Damage there to the front of, well, I say damage, but the cover there is loose.
And so it started lifting up, so just catching the air and slowing down my top speed. I just naturally tried to start finding time in different parts, and we call that overdriving. Overdrove a corner and made a mistake while defending against Brock, and that allowed him to get by. And that meant that the next person behind me was Arvid.
Feeney's got through on Rashid, and now Lindblad's all over him.
You know, I was starting to get a little stressed out, and I didn't know if I was going to get black flagged and told to pit to fix it. That's exactly like worst case scenario in a big event like this, but also for me, you know, I'm trying to make a statement in the New Zealand Grand Prix. The last thing I wanted to do was throw away what had been an incredible race so far, an incredible weekend, all because of one thing that was completely out of my control. I just wanted to finish the race, do the best I could, and let the chips fall where they may. Luckily, I was able to keep up with Brock and stay in his slipstream, just keep pressure on him and forced him into a mistake and was able to get by. I tried the best I could with the mechanical failure we had in the car, but ultimately...
Well, this is as close as Arvid Lindblad has been.
It really didn't matter what I did in the corners. I was just getting completely sucked up to, and so I fought for so many laps with him to try and keep him behind, but eventually he got by.
Does he touch Rashid? Well, either way, he's got through.
I was really disappointed because I wanted the podium so bad and I really felt like I deserved it. That's the way racing goes, and I was so disappointed when I got back to the paddock to be greeted by my team and the way they were all so proud, so happy for me. And that really lifted my spirits and reminded me that, you know, it was a great race, a really great effort. And I think that's all you can ask for at the end of the day. You know, it's a little bittersweet because it could have been my first Grand Prix podium at my very first Grand Prix. At the end of the day, it was one of my best races at one of the best weekends of the entire year. I really got to put myself center stage for everyone to see.
To be honest, he's turned out to be one of the stories of this weekend, Shawn Rashid. He hadn't showed much up until that, but he wasn't expected to. He's come into racing very late. He's got a huge future. If he can do this in single-seaters, well, the world's his oyster.
And here I am, a driver with 3 years of experience competing against these guys who have done this for over a decade. I made it onto a podium on a Grand Prix weekend and just missed it by a nail in the Grand Prix itself. I just honestly couldn't be more proud of myself for how far I've come. I was just really happy I was able to do that for myself, but also for my team, for all of my family, the people that support me. It was just a really nice confirmation that I'm on the right path and doing the right things to make it to where I want to be. This series was all I could have wished for and more. It had the highs, it had the lows, it had the lessons, the opportunities, and the joy. It's incredible because it went by so fast, yet we had a full season of racing in 5 weeks. The learning was so accelerated, so compounded. I just have never in my life learned more in 5 weeks than I did in New Zealand.
Our next prize is for the most improved driver.
I really felt like I grew a lot in this series, and it was such a nice feeling to have that recognized by the series organizers as well.
He is, of course, Shawn Rashid of the US.
It was an honor to receive that in such a strong field full of everyone that was also improving.
First of all, thank you so much to everyone that runs the series, MTech, my mechs, my engineers, my personal team. Everyone has just made this such an incredible experience, and it's been such a privilege to be here with all the teams and fellow drivers. So competitive. Just thank you so, so much.
I truly believe every one of us is called to something greater. In this beautiful country, I found something new in myself. A warrior, someone who will never give up when the times get tough. I know this sport has its ups and downs. I've experienced that before. But there was a point here where the downs really seemed like rock bottom. So to end it this way, after all the fights, through all the self-doubt, I couldn't have wished for more. I haven't been in this sport long, but I've come so far. I'm trying to prove that no matter where you come from, no matter who you are, no matter what people say you can or can't do, anything is possible. Yeah, Alex broke my trophy, so he really was upset that I won and smashed it. There they are. Ka-ching!